2025 is here and we of course are going to continue creating videos for you. Also, something that never changes is we offer Windows 11 Pro retail keys. For just $12.50, purchase one today and you are good to go for the end of the year when Windows 10 is end of life.
Right now, we're inside a computer program.
Is it really so hard to believe? Your clothes are different, the plugs in your arms and head are gone. Your hair has changed.
This isn't real.
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
Every year I am creating some kind of love story to Skyrim VR, but this year it's gonna be even more impressive and more different than ever. There are some moments in gaming that stay with you forever. An example in the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, the first time you ever step out of that awful sewer into the amazing new world. Well, imagine that, but that tenfold in virtual reality. The first time you're going to play a fully modded Skyrim, not anymore with the regular 2D flat screen graphics, but fully being in that world in virtual reality. Well, with mods and in 2025, this is definitely the year you should step into Skyrim VR. Skyrim VR has always been one of the best PCVR experiences. I have to say, with Half-Life Alyx, Skyrim VR fully modded definitely shares the #1 spot. Visually, it always, unfortunately, even with all the mods, felt somewhat of a compromise. A slightly janky, a slightly bit of a lesser version of the original Skyrim Special Edition graphics, well, fully graphics modded comparison with the VR edition. But this year, this time it's gonna be different. Why? Because we of course have all the amazing mods that an amazing Wabbajack like the Mad God Overhaul version 3.5 has, but now also with DLSS 4 and DLLA, Skyrim VR has leveled up. We're not talking about sharper textures, but the overall quality is so insanely amazing. And on top of that, we have very good performance with DLSS 4. Lighting looks so realistic. This is really something you have to see for yourself. Standing on a mountaintop as the amazing night sky is right there. And I mean, this year more than ever, I have been sitting down literally somewhere in the world of Skyrim to just look at the amazing environments, because that's the level we are currently right now. Skyrim VR in 2025 is the way you should definitely play and definitely try. And it can be done this year, because I will show you later, for this might be the first year where things are so insanely accessible, and I'm going to show you everything you need to know about Skyrim VR in 2025. Before we continue, I would like to give a quick heads up. What you're currently seeing on screen is not really translatable how amazingly, insanely Skyrim VR actually feels and to be in virtual reality, but also what you're currently seeing is also not exactly how Skyrim VR looks. I mean, there is some edges of the screen have been cropped. The reason why is because otherwise you would be looking at a weird circular fisheye mess, and that's not really nice to look at. So yeah, for that I have to crop it a little bit, and for that sometimes it looks like you're missing parts of the screen, but that is definitely not the case in virtual reality, of course. So today we're diving into exactly why 2025 is the best time for you to experience Skyrim VR like never before. From next-gen graphical upgrades to gameplay overhauls that makes the world just feel really alive in virtual reality, we are covering everything you need to know. So whether you're a Skyrim VR veteran or someone who has never set foot in the virtual Tamriel in virtual reality, this is the year to finally take that leap where you maybe have been waiting for since the first release of Skyrim VR. Virtual reality or VR is way more than just playing a game. It is a way of stepping inside a game. So instead of actually looking at your screen like you normally do, VR lets you physically turn your head, in example, to admire Skyrim's wonderful, amazing landscapes. It lets you physically reach out with your own hands to pick up objects, steal things, touch NPCs, hug them, slap them in their face, that kind of stuff. and also like literally allows you to sneak physically around a tree, look under a table, and even dodge incoming arrows, all in real time. What is amazing with Skyrim VR fully modded in 2025 is pretty much everything you think would be really cool in VR, or really cool what you should be able to do in somewhat of a real-life Skyrim experience, you can actually do it, and do it better in Skyrim VR. This is being modded so amazingly well, and the possibilities are so amazingly well, it really blows your mind. I'm pretty sure of that. However, it needs to be said, Skyrim VR in its original state was, well, let's just say it wasn't really exactly a masterpiece. So when Bethesda did release Skyrim VR, it was basically a quick mod job, just a bare-bone conversion of Skyrim Special Edition into somewhat of a VR environment. Something like, an example, a conversion toolkit like ForbX in the past used to do. There were no real physics interactions, no really VR-specific mechanics, and honestly, it felt rather like a Skyrim tech demo than a fully fledged VR experience with any love put into it. But that said, the framework was there finally. We also finally had, instead of a cheap ForbX conversion, we had fully motion controller interaction, and it really provided a foundation for the amazing Skyrim VR fully modded editions we have nowadays. And this again is, together with Half-Life Alyx, the best PCVR experience you can have currently right now. So luckily the Skyrim VR community did what it does best. They really modded the amazing hell out of it. And thanks to a few game-changing mods, Skyrim went already from just okay to one of the most immersive VR experiences ever, just by adding 3 main VR-specific mods. The first one was introduced was Plank, and Plank introduced actual physics and physics-based combat to Skyrim VR. So instead of just weapons passing through enemies like ghosts, you can now physically feel resistance when you hit something. So your sword just doesn't clip through an enemy, through objects, that kind of stuff. It actually reacts. So you can even shove NPCs aside, grab objects more naturally, and experience Skyrim VR like it actually had to be done in a virtual reality experience. Then Higgs came, and yeah, Higgs was like, if you ever felt weird using Skyrim's clunky menu system just to grab an item, well, Higgs fixed that. So you could now physically reach out, pick up weapons, food, potions, and toss objects around. So if you drop your sword in battle, just bend down and pick it up, an example. There are no clunky, really weird, non-immersive menus required anymore. This really made such a big difference, and these kind of mods really made Skyrim VR feel more real. And on top of that, we had VRIC, the fully body presence in virtual reality. So VRIC is the mod that actually gives you your full virtual body. So normal floating little hands, like the Bethesda VR games had, like Fallout VR, Skyrim VR. Now you have actually legs, arms, and an actual body that moves naturally in the world. You can see your weapons holstered, use hand gestures to cast magic, and feel truly inside the game. So this also was such a big key mod to the game, and with that Plank, Higgs and VRIC really provides the VR foundation of a Skyrim VR we need to have in 2025. And this stands aside from, of course, all the amazing graphics mods we also have. And instead of modding Skyrim VR like a complete weekend, get lost in all the mods, get lost how to set certain settings, how to change things, that's not needed anymore because we have Wabbajack. Wabbajack is an all-in-one automated installer, and it does everything for you. At least you need a mod list, which is Wabbajack compiled. So there are during those years, many Skyrim VR Wabbajack mod lists were created, which you can then automatically install. But there is nowadays in 2025 really the ultimate VR experience, Mad God Overhaul 3.5. So mods didn't really just only improve gameplay, the graphic mods really transformed Skyrim into one of the most beautiful and immersive VR worlds ever created. So that's really where Mad God Overhaul came in. And you know, Mad God Overhaul is a really high-end Skyrim VR mod list, and it completely remasters the game from the ground up. It features, in example, the latest advancements in community shaders, full PBR textures, and next-gen lighting effects, and everything really looks stunning, from the smallest pebbles on the street to the grandest cities, rocks, cliff formations. You really have to see it for yourself. And again, this is a Wabbajack, so an all-in-one automated installer. And yeah, if you're watching this and you're thinking like, okay, how can I download and install it? I also did create a video of that, of course, and you can watch it by clicking in the link in the video description. And now also, finally, we have a real living, breathing world with the help of Mad God Overhaul. So cities, towns and villages have been completely transformed with the Great City series, JK Interiors and Capital Expansion mods. So every location truly feels alive, packed with details and realistic lighting thanks to the Lux suite from the Lux Lighting, which you maybe know from Fallout 4. And what's also been one of the most important things for Skyrim are of course nature and forests. So forests now actually change with seasons. That's really a cool feature. Fields are now lush, vibrant and also feel really alive. So Skyrim's not really longer just a boring, cold, empty land. It is now really filled with depth and realism, and that's really something you have to see also for yourself. And yeah, there are also some gameplay stuff in the Mad God Overhaul, but that's really up to you what you like, of course. But by default, combat is more smarter and more intense. And an example, there are tons of new quests, content, that kind of stuff. And most important, I think it comes with all the VR essentials that you want. So not only VRIC, Plank and Higgs, the 3 mod foundations we talked about earlier, but also an example, Spell Wheel and many other really cool handy mods you're going to need for your Skyrim VR. So why should you care about this? Well, this isn't really just Skyrim anymore. This is really Skyrim reborn in virtual reality. With the right mods, you're no longer playing the game, you're actually living in it. And in 2025, with DLSS 4, DLLA, and in combination with these next-gen mods from the Mad God Overhaul, Skyrim VR has never looked or played better. So trust me, you don't want to miss this. For the ones who are pretty new to VR headsets, early PCVR was kind of a nightmare. Setting up a VR headset back in the day meant dealing with external base stations, tons of cables and a setup process so complicated sometimes you'd wonder if you accidentally signed up for an engineering degree. So on top of that, it was all very expensive. First of all, of course, you had to find a big space and where to add all those base stations. Then you had to deal with room calibration, Steam VR bugs as well at the start of VR, and the occasional tracking issues when you turn around too fast. And after all that, if you didn't have a high-end PC, you were still stuck with blurry, pixelated visuals and very low FPS. But today, VR headsets have come a long way. Even while you've probably not heard from VR for a very long time, we really have some amazing headsets for very good pricing actually. They are cheaper and easier to use than ever before. The biggest revolution in VR when it came to pricing was with the Oculus Quest lineup. It's now Meta Quest, but unlike older PCVR headsets, the Oculus or Meta Quest 2 and now Quest 3 as well, they don't need any external sensors. They have inside-out tracking. So what this means is that the cameras on the headset itself track your movement. This means very simple setup, no base stations required, and the best part is they can be used completely wireless for PCVR if you have a good router and a fast internet connection. However, still it is very easy using it wired because you only need a single USB-C cable instead of having a DisplayPort cable or a 2-3 external cables for your base stations. Not needed, only a single USB-C cable is needed and it just works. So no additional cables, no hassle. You can very easily put on the headset, connect it to your PC, set up your room and boom, that's it. You can start modding Skyrim VR or start playing any other PC VR titles. So Really cool and very easy to use. And luckily in the landscape of VR headsets, it's not only Meta which is doing great things. Sony PlayStation VR 1 we already did release, but it was kind of a low-end headset because the PlayStation 4 wasn't really strong enough to run it. However, Sony has their PlayStation VR 2. And what it is great is that they did announce an official adapter for this PlayStation VR 2 to use it for PCVR. And what's even greater news is that they recently dropped their prices to €450, $450, and that is a really insane deal for a very high-end VR headset as the PSVR 2 is. I will say the only thing is I can't recommend either the Quest 3 or the PSVR 2 over each other, is because Quest 3 has so much ease of use to connect. PSVR 2 is a little bit more issue, but it's a very high quality PCVR headset now. It has very high quality OLED displays, great comfort, it has also inside-out tracking, and technically I would say the PSVR 2 is even better than the Quest 3. So really cool, good options under the €500, $500 range. So yeah, I would say definitely Quest 3 and PlayStation VR 2 now are the best PCVR headsets for the price point. So no more €1,000 plus, no more $1,500 plus with base stations and stuff. €500 for a brand new PCVR headset, the PSVR 2 or the Quest 3 will give you the absolute best quality. And now we come to the point of this YouTube title, why you should play Skyrim VR in 2025 with mods, or actually why there is no reason for you not to play Skyrim VR with mods anymore. And that is used Meta Quest 3 S's or mostly Meta Quest 2s. And why? Because these are being sold sometimes for only $100 to $150 or euros. And the reason for that is that at this time this was a really mainstream product. The reason for it is because mostly people use these Quest 2s only for standalone VR, so only the stuff which comes to the built-in Meta VR store. So they didn't really use PCVR, they only use the standalone games, which is of course relatively limited because you are limited to the hardware of the headset. So what happened is people or parents who bought this for children, they usually played a couple of Beat Saber-ish games, maybe something else like Super Hot VR, and then after a couple of months it just was gathering dust in the closet. And yeah, what good is a headset gathering dust in the closet? So they are selling them. And it is amazing because these Quest 2s are still very good headsets. As a matter of fact, not even like half a year ago I used to have a Quest 2, which I was really happy with. So the Quest 2 it's a little bit lesser than the Quest 3, obviously, but it is still an amazing headset, and people don't know or don't care that these can also be used for PCVR. Also with just a single USB-C cable, it just works perfectly out of the box, or if you have a really good router and fast internet, even can do it wirelessly. So this is a little bit of the answer why you should definitely check it out. Please get a used headset for Quest 2. What's another great thing is it's a little bit less spec'd than the Quest 3 for PCVR, so it means it's also a little bit easier to run than the Quest 3, which is of course also really helping if you're on the budget. But that's not all. If you don't really have top of the line GPU, in example you only have like a 3060 or something 3070 with the Mad God Overhaul Modlist, we now can enable and force DLSS 4 for NVIDIA cards. I have to say this, of course, not for AMD. DLSS 4 on your RTX card. And this not only runs the game better, it also makes it look better because it's using advanced upscaling and also frame generation. And I did test it on my RTX 3090 and I'm able to run it perfectly fine, and it looks really amazing in combination with DLAA, so the anti-aliasing technique, and the upscaling from DLSS 4 and the better frame rate. This feels like almost magic. Very high quality visuals, and my Quest 3 almost looks like a brand new VR headset, which is really insane. But yeah, despite all the insanely negative things about the RTX 5000 cards, DLSS 4 is available for all RTX cards, not only the 5000 cards, and it makes such a big difference. So If you don't have a super high-end PC, like I said, the 3060, 3070, maybe something like that, Nvidia-wise, you can get a Quest 2 for only $100 to $150 US, and you can use DLSS 4 to make such a big difference. So you now also have no more pixelated screens, no more tracking issues, no more backdoors, because the Quest 2 already is almost perfect. You know, it's pixel density. I don't even see pixels anymore, and the Quest 3 and the PSVR 2, of course, are way better. So really a great time to buy a Quest 2 or higher now, and it is really easy to connect it to your PC, so you can start modding your Skyrim VR. So to conclude this all, gone are now the days of complicated setups, expensive gear, low resolution, pixelated headsets, screen door effects, frustrating tracking issues. Now in 2025, PCVR is easier and more affordable than ever. So whether you grab a more cheap second-hand Quest 2 or go all in with a Quest 3 or better maybe PSVR 2 on PC, there has never been a better time to jump into a modded Skyrim VR in 2025. And really trust me, once you step into the wonderful world of Skyrim in virtual reality, fully modded, you never want to leave this fantastic game. More than ever, I've been, you know, not only playing Skyrim VR, but especially with DLSS 4 and DLLA, I just, you know, sometimes stop to wonder and look at the amazing world of Skyrim VR. You just sit down and relax, you know, maybe talk with my companion, and this is something I always dreamt of, playing a game in virtual reality, but never ever thought it was actually possible. But it is with a fully modded Skyrim VR. Playing a heavily modded Skyrim on a high-end monitor is already breathtaking. The landscapes, the lighting, the sheer scale of Tamriel, all its amazing mods, it is truly incredible. So I can hear you thinking, why should I care then for experiencing Skyrim in VR? Why not just play the regular vanilla or special edition and anniversary edition fully modded? So Skyrim VR is on a completely new, different level. This has nothing to do with 3D TV or something. This is really being in the world of Skyrim. So this fully changes with today's hardware and mods. It is so good sometimes. Again, I just have to sit down and take it all in. It's really an experience, even while I'm doing this for 4 years now, modding Skyrim VR. And this year it finally feels like a true, real competitor to the Skyrim Special Edition regarding graphics. In the past, you always had, you know, a little bit of compromise. An example to the water. The weather didn't really look that great, and there was always something which was just better or even way better in Skyrim Special Edition or Anniversary Edition fully modded. But now I have only an RTX 3090. It has 24 gigs of VRAM, but it is already 2 generations old. But in combination with my Quest 3, with the Mad God Overhaul 3.5, DLSS 4 and DLAA, this game looks so unbelievably good that I often find myself stopping, relaxing, sitting down in taverns, you know, staring at the world, even staring at something like you know, the streets, that you actually can see the pebbles with the parallax textures, and it looks all so real in virtual reality. You have an example, an amazing Serana overhaul, Serana dialogue overhaul, and that feels like you're actually talking to her. And when it comes to speaking to NPCs and actually talking to them, we now have Mantella AI, and Mantella AI really allows us to have a completely new understanding of interacting with NPCs. An example, you can use local language models like a ChatGPT, which is not local, but you can run fast local models for languages, and it will generate text to speech quite instantly if you have a good GPU. However, this is a little bit of a next step if you really have some time to find it out. But yes, we are slowly getting in the virtual world we actually want to be. We are slowly getting into the Matrix. So really insane. And I really can't understand why virtual reality, especially PCVR, is not being mentioned more, because PCVR, and especially with a game like Skyrim VR, is something you really have to try. So that's why I really want to create this video. Now, if you have a very good PC or a high-end-ish PC, as in 3080 or higher, you can play this. You only have to pay 100 to 150 euros, 100 to 150 euros / dollars to get a used Quest 2, a USB-C cable, and boom, you are there. So really, every year I say this, every year I have somewhat of a love letter to Skyrim VR modded on a PC, and this is the one for 2025, but this one is different. This time it's really possible, and it's so close for you if you never experienced this yourself. So if I have to explain what the difference is then between the flat screen version and the VR version, scale and presence. Everything feels really bigger and more massive in virtual reality. An example, a dragon or a big creature, when it's coming towards you, it feels really dangerous, but also an example, mountains and landscapes, you can just look at them in distance and it looks absolutely insane. You know, it's the sense of skill is really what makes this all real. An example, also NPCs standing to you, talking to them. An example, if you have a beautiful follower, then you can like hold her hands, you know, and even hug her, that kind of stuff. It feels really real. So also physical interactions, and that is the way you do combat or interact with the world. You can literally swing your swords, you can throw weapons, you can hold up your shield. You know, you even have weapon slots where you can like draw a sword. It is possible to now physically with your own hands / controllers reach out, pick up objects, throw stuff. You know, if you're going to loot dungeons, you can like kneel or sit down and like go through closets, pick up stuff. It's not like an E to interact thing. You can just do it. Do things like you would do in real life. You can do it in VR. Also, combat is way more intense and also way more intuitive. Instead of clicking a mouse, pressing a controller, you can physically dodge arrows, projectiles. You can parry, you can block attacks. And also an example, bow and arrow is really more immersive and cool. And yeah, you literally have to draw an arrow and, you know, shoot with the bow and arrow. And it is such a different and amazing experience. So really, combat is also definitely something not to overlook. It is truly a new experience for you. And in general, everything just feels more real and more alive. And it is something, like I said many times before, I can't really explain it. It's like the Matrix. Nobody can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. Same applies for virtual reality. But in the past, it was always expensive, didn't work, hard to set up. Not anymore. You can get into it now. Finally is your year, 2025, and please do it, because I'm pretty sure once you have set everything up, you're going to absolutely love this.